I did end up burning the garlic and onion. Is this kind of starting out as a disaster? Sure.
Okay, here's what I'm gonna say. It's
beginning to look a lot like...
I saw a video recently where a guy traveled to Spain and he ate paella. I think for the first time, but it was definitely a restaurant that was well known for their paella, and it blew his mind. Paella is a, on the surface, very simple dish. Rice, protein. But for some reason, after watching that man eat paella, I wanted paella. Really bad. And luckily enough for me, I have the basic ingredients to make a bastardized version of paella, which is what I plan to do today. This is the cooking vlog, and we'll see how poorly I do at this, or maybe it's gonna be great. I don't know. My wife's a little skeptical, but hopefully I can win her over. When it comes to cooking, I'm nowhere near a professional level chef. I'm just a guy that occasionally likes to make food for myself and for my family. So when I'm going into this paella, did I look up a recipe? Sure. Am I following that recipe? Not really. I'm just going off gut instincts because I ultimately believe that, you know, your Nona or your Mima or your great Nona that came from the old country who just cooked by heart and didn't measure anything out, she had the right idea. So I can't go disrespecting Nona and go measure everything out. I'm cooking with love here, right? The secret ingredient, love, that's just not measuring anything out. It's also a ton of salt and butter, but primarily it's just from not measuring anything. So let's take a look at everything we got here. For this paella, I'm gonna start off by throwing some onion and some garlic in the stove, get those toasting up real nice, add some spices. I got some chili powder, red pepper powder, paprika, parsley. You know, I'm just playing with stuff. Obviously the S&P, you can't go wrong with a little salt and pepper. Now I know a lot of people are suckers for like freshly ground cracked pepper. I'm too lazy. I just buy the pre-ground stuff, so that's what you're getting out of me. And then we're gonna go chicken thighs. A lot of paella is made with seafood. My wife doesn't particularly like seafood, so that's what we got. We're gonna cook it all in some chicken broth. And then the recipe I saw said Spanish rice, and obviously it's a Spanish dish, so you should be using Spanish rice. I just had this lying around, so this is what I'm gonna use. And ultimately, I believe that is a big key for cooking. Just take what you already have and use that. Let's get to chopping, prepping, and cooking. I'm starting to cry. The onions are getting to me. I just want this onion as finely diced as I can get it, but also as finely diced as I'm willing to like put in the effort, which isn't that much effort. You know what? I'm calling that good. But on to the garlic. So I did end up cutting myself. Boom, Band-Aid, on. Again, I'm not a professional chef. Don't follow anything I'm doing. I'm just a guy cooking in his kitchen, slicing the back of his thumb open. Okay, so I've washed my hands. I got the chicken thighs going in the pan right now. I did end up burning the garlic and onion a little bit, dealing with, you know, this whole fiasco. Is this kind of starting out as a disaster? Sure, but I think we can persevere, keep going, and make us some paella. I'm just trying something new and I'm praying it's gonna turn out well. I will note, when I poured in the rice, I probably should have distributed it a little more even because there's a lot of rice in the center, not as much on the edges. Okay, the paella has been resting for 5-ish minutes. Let's open it up. Let's take the first bite, see how it is. Okay, I'm gonna start with a big old clump of rice. We'll see how this goes. Still pretty al dente. Chicken. It needs more seasoning. It needs more salt, that's for sure. And I don't know if I should crank the heat back up, put more water on it, so the rice can absorb more. I'm gonna try that. I think I have to admit a little bit of defeat on paella. At the end of the day, it's just chicken and rice. I've essentially just made chicken and rice. That's my assessment of it. The assessment that really matters is my wife's. So I'm going to get her in here and we'll see what she thinks. Okay, here she is. Do you want me to blur you out?
Yeah.
Okay. She's blurred out because she's not camera ready, but let's see what her verdict is.
Okay. Here's what I'm going to say. It's good. I like it.
Cool, well, thanks. So that's the final verdict from my wife. She says it's good, although she would prefer white meat instead of dark meat. But at the end of the day, recipes are there for a reason. You know, you're trying to make something consistent time over time. You want to follow a recipe. I skimmed a recipe and just went for the fences. Probably not the best thing I could have done, especially since this was the first time I ever made a paella. I probably should have followed that a little more to the letter of the law. Is it hearty for the winter and will it fill you up for cheap? Yes, definitely. This is a hearty and cheap meal that I just made. It's probably why it's popular in Spain. Just something that a lot of people can make for fairly cheap, can feed a lot of people. Will I have tons of leftovers? Yes. 2 cups of rice for 2 adults and a toddler, way too much. This is what I love about cooking. The consequence is fairly minimal, and usually I'm just making it for myself and for my wife. I'm not trying to put it out there. It's just something kind of intimate and personal to myself. I love making new dishes. Will I try it again in the future? Yes. Hey, thanks so much for joining me on this disaster of an adventure trying to cook some paella. I'll catch you in the next episode where me and my wife are going to be baking some cookies, and we're actually going to follow a recipe, and it's actually cookies we've made before, so we know they're going to taste good, and things are probably going to go a lot better than they did with this paella. Peace out.